What does Benjamin Netanyahu want from this war with Iran? What's the end goal? And then shifting gears, can you talk about the Bring Gaza Home project?
What Netanyahu wants is the continuation of a war. It doesn't matter where the war is. It doesn't matter who he is fighting it with, but he needs to continue a war in order to stay in power. That's the first thing, because the minute the war is finished as in finished, he will be in, probably in jail after his court case is heard. And that is a certainty. So he needs to continue the war for as long as he can make it last. And he's done it. Now, the other thing that he needs to do is to continue the war in such a manner that he can take more territory from Arabs. Now, that territory is in the areas they are already fighting. It's the most difficult one, of course, is not Gaza, but the West Bank, because somehow internationally, because of racism, because of Islamophobia, especially Islamophobia, and Gaza is understood as a basis of, kind of militant Islam, which it's not true. Actually, Hamas is not a militant Islam. It's not an extreme Islamic party. Actually, they don't want the kind of regime that there is in Iran. They never tried to argue for that. So Hamas is actually a strong force of resistance, but is not a radical Islamic party in the way that, say Hezbollah is. And even Hezbollah does not want an Islamic republic in Lebanon. They never tried it. They don't want it. They want a democratic Iran and want to play a part in it. So
A
that's
democratic
the first thing.
Lebanon, right?
Yeah. So I think he needs all the time to open new fronts, and the new fronts could be in Syria and in Lebanon. In Syria, Lebanon is already there, and of course in Jordan. The Jordan situation is very interesting because the regime is Western dominated. The people of Jordan are mainly Palestinians. The regime is in dire trouble and in danger already. And if they will be seen to help Israel by shooting Iranian missiles and so on, it's a touch and go what happens. So he would like to do that because there is a regime that wouldn't be able to fight him very efficiently because itself it is in danger. So what Netanyahu will do is continue this war as long as he can. Now, what I wanted to talk about for a moment is the people of Gaza. This is where we started on the 7th of October, and even before the UN quite seriously judged Gaza as unlivable. This was before any munitions were shot on the 7th of October. Every time since the 2021 and 2022 reports, Gaza was unlivable in terms of water, in terms of food, in terms of agriculture, in terms of the air quality. Every measure that you used to look at life in Gaza, it was unlivable in. Now, what do we actually say it is now? Yeah, the UN said that it will take probably 6 decades to rebuild Gaza and 16 years just to remove the rubble. Now, what are the people of Gaza supposed to do now when they don't have any food coming into the north of Gaza? I'll tell you one thing. The Nazis allowed very little food into ghettos in Europe before they destroyed them. And they calculated scientifically how much a human needs to stay alive a child or a grown up, how much they actually require to stay alive. Just on that line that, a bit less, they will die. And that's what they supplied. No fail, by the way. If Israel adopted that criterion in Gaza, we would be, a lot of people would be saved, would have been saved already. Yeah. Unfortunately, Israel has no plan of doing that. They actually don't allow any food into North Gaza now. I don't want to say, is this like the Nazis or not? I'm saying, I wish the Israelis adopted that criterion of feeding the people in Gaza. Now, they don't do that. And that means that there are no hospitals, no schools, no mosques, no facilities, amenities of any kind that allow life to continue in Gaza. On the other hand, the water is polluted, the earth is polluted with uranium, with phosphorus, including white phosphorus, with gases that the Israelis used. Life is impossible in Gaza, and people are dying all the time. If they don't die from bombs, they die from polio, they die from other diseases, and they die from the hostile environment that the Israelis have created. Now, it is amazing that Jews are supporting this outside of Israel. It is shameful that they are supporting it. But a lot of Jews, thankfully in America, the young Jews in America are in great numbers opposing this genocide. So I think what we need to think as a human society that saw this genocide on our telephones, the children looked at other children being incinerated and eviscerated. And nothing was done to stop it until now. We must actually do the minimum, which is to move people from Gaza for the duration of the rebuilding to a place where they can live. And that place is not in Canada, is not in South America, is not on the moon. It's in Palestine. It's their land, their country that they have the right to. And Israel should be forced by the UN and the members of the UN to take those people and care for them under a UN protection force, because they have created the worst genocide in this century. And they should not be able to get away with even more people dying. Because they've already killed around 20% of the population of Gaza. And this is untenable and unacceptable and illegal and immoral. And, you can go on and add your own, So basically, what we have started, a group of Palestinians and Israeli and Jewish anti-Zionist, we are supporting the return of the refugees of Gaza who come from the rest of Palestine. And you know where most of them come from? They come from the area where the kibbutzim around Gaza have been built. Each of those was built on a village or a town that before 1948 was thriving. And they ended up in Gaza as refugees. And also the people of Jaffa ended up in Gaza. And I come from a small place in Jaffa called Jabalia. And that's where the people who survived World War II death camps ended up in Jabalia. And today, the people of Jabalia live in a camp called Jabalia. That's why it's called Jabalia, yeah? Because that's where they come from. So most of the people of Gaza come from just around Gaza. Let them return there. Let them live where there is water, where there is electricity, where food safety is not in question. And not only will they actually live, but they will be the bridge to the future, because this move to save them from what the Israelis and the Americans and the rest of the West has created, a death trap for 2.5 million people, will now become the beginning of the return of the refugees, and will be, if done properly, with all the dangers that I'm aware of, all the dangers we all are aware of, nothing is as dangerous as what the Israelis are doing and have done to Gaza, and what the Americans have done by supplying it. So this is a project which is humanitarian, which is about the future of living together, sharing Palestine, and stopping the process of the last 8 decades of war and destruction, stopping Zionism, getting rid of it, and living like Jews lived in the Arab East and in Southern Europe for 800 years under Muslim rule. It is possible. It is just. It is depending on all of us working to save those who have survived and that will not survive much longer if we don't do this.